Welcome to this AIM Quick Guide to Electronic Meetings. House Enrolled Act 1437 amended the Indiana Open Door Law to revise the requirements for members of a governing body to participate in a meeting by means of electronic communication. All meetings of the governing bodies of public agencies must be open at all times for the purpose of permitting members of the public to observe and record them. Public notice of the date, time, and place of any meeting shall be given at least 48 hours, excluding Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays, before the meeting. Prior to the new law, electronic communication authorized a member of a governing body of a political subdivision to participate in a meeting of the governing body by means of electronic communications since 2012. It does apply to redevelopment commissions, but not to an airport authority board, an aviation board of commissioners, and as of July 1, 2021, to the board of a conservancy district. These entities are required to comply with IC 5-14-1.5-3.6, which applies to state agencies and which was also amended by House Enrolled Act 1437. New participation by electronic communication notes that a member of the governing body of a public agency who is not physically present at a meeting of the governing body may participate in a meeting by any electronic means of communication that allows all participating members of the governing body to simultaneously communicate with each other and allows the public to simultaneously attend and observe the meeting unless the meeting is an executive session. A member of a governing body who participates in the meeting by an electronic means of communication is considered present for the purposes of establishing a quorum, and, if the member can be seen and heard, may participate in any final action or vote taken during the meeting. The minutes or memoranda prepared in accordance with IC 5-14-1.5-4 for any meeting which a member participates by an electronic means of communication must identify each member of the governing body who was physically present at the place where the meeting was held, identify each member who participated in the meeting using any electronic means of communication, identify each member who was absent, and identify the electronic means of communication by which members of the governing body participated in the meeting and the public attended and observed the meeting. If the meeting is an executive session, the public does not attend or participate in the meeting. All votes taken during a meeting at which a member of the governing body participates by means of electronic communication must be taken by roll call vote. At least 50% of the members of the governing body must be physically present at the meeting. A member may not attend more than 50% of the governing body's electronic meetings in a calendar year unless the member's use of a means of electronic communication is due to military service, illness or other medical condition, death of a relative, or an emergency involving an actual or threatened injury to persons or property. The governing body may not prohibit a member from attending consecutive meetings by electronic communication. A member may attend 2 consecutive meetings, or a set of meetings, by electronic communication. A member is required to physically attend at least 1 meeting between sets of meetings, unless the member's inability to physically attend is due to military service, illness or other medical condition, death of a relative, or an emergency involving actual or threatened injury to persons or property. A member of a governing body may not participate in a meeting by means of electronic communication if the governing body is attempting to take final action or vote to adopt a budget, make reduction in personnel, initiate a referendum, establish or increase a fee, establish or increase a penalty, exercise eminent domain authority, or establish, raise, or renew a tax. A member of the governing body who cannot be physically present at such a meeting will be considered absent. These limitations effectively mean that meetings that will include the consideration of these actions may not be conducted by means of electronic communication. The governing body of each political subdivision is required to adopt a written policy establishing the procedures with which a member must comply to participate in a meeting by an electronic means of communication. In addition to the requirements that apply to the means of electronic communications as described here, when a member of the governing body participates by a means of electronic communication, all votes must be taken by roll call vote. The policy may limit the number of members who may participate by electronic communication in a single meeting, limit the total number of meetings that the governing body may conduct in a calendar year by electronic communication, and the governing body may establish requirements in its written policy that are more restrictive than the mandatory statutory requirements. The governing body could limit the number of meetings in a year for which electronic participation will be permitted, or even prohibit the use of electronic means of communication for all meetings of the governing body. A technological failure in an electronic means of communication that disrupts or prevents the simultaneous communication between a member who is not physically present and the members who are physically present, or prevents a member of the public who is not physically present from attending and observing the meeting, does not prevent the governing body from meeting, nor does it affect the validity of an action taken by the governing body during the meeting if the sum of members physically present and member participating by electronic communication that does not experience a technological failure satisfies the governing body's quorum requirements, and if final action is taken, the applicable voting requirements. House Enrolled Act 1437 added IC 5-14-1.5-3.7, which applies when the governor has declared a disaster emergency under IC 10-14-3-12, or when the executive of a political subdivision has declared a local disaster emergency under IC 10-14-3-29. While a disaster emergency or local disaster emergency is in effect, the members of the governing body are not required to be physically present at a meeting until the disaster emergency or local disaster emergency is terminated. This provision applies to all governing bodies. The members of the governing body may meet by any electronic means of communication if at least a quorum of the members of the governing body participate in the meeting either in person or by means of electronic communication, and the public is able to simultaneously attend and observe the meeting, unless the meeting is an executive session. IC 5-14-1.5-4, which applies to every meeting, does require the minutes or memoranda to identify the members of the governing body who were physically present at the meeting. Electronic meetings of redevelopment commissions. A member of a redevelopment commission can participate in a meeting by an electronic means that allows all participating members, all members of the public who are physically present at the meeting, to simultaneously communicate with each other. The members are considered present for purposes of establishing a quorum and may participate in any final action taken at the meeting. At least 1/3 of the members must be physically present at the place where the meeting is conducted. All votes during the meeting must be taken by roll call vote. The public retains the right to attend a meeting at the place where the meeting is held, and the minimum number of members are physically present. Each member of the commission is required to physically attend at least one meeting of the commission annually. Guidance from the Indiana Public Access Counselor on meetings and electronic communications can be found at this URL. This AIM Quick Guide was sponsored by Commonwealth Engineers. Since 1974, Commonwealth Engineers has earned a reputation as a top-tier water resources firm, providing award-winning planning, permitting, design, and construction engineering solutions. Over 4 decades later, our commitment to protecting water quality and the quality of life for Indiana residents continues to grow. Our team's philosophy is to serve in partnership with clients like you, to understand your current needs and work together to achieve successful solutions. For more information on Commonwealth Engineers, go to commonwealthengineers.com or call our office at 317-888-1177.